Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. Today, we are super psyched to have someone who rocks.
Literally rocks.
Literally rocks.
Yeah.
A friend of both Craig and I, we've been on the stage lecturing at the illustrious...
Let's leave it there.
All right, we've been on stage together lecturing.
Yeah.
We're excited to have Laura Hatch on today, and we thought it was really timely I think it's timely all the time because I'm a stickler for verbiage, especially for and the front office verbiage, but also as we are exiting this COVID environment, hopefully it's going to become even more important. But so Laura, I'm gonna have you after I intro. We're gonna go through things pre-COVID, post-COVID. And how do we make our phones just be that amazing piece of aspect of our practice that we know it can be? So
awesome.
All in 1 hour, right? We're going to ask for just things that's taken you a lifetime of career. 45 minutes. We're gonna ask you to deploy all of your content in 45 minutes. But anyway, thanks for agreeing to come on, and I've been excited to have you here.
This is a bucket list. I don't know if we have to be in COVID for me to get asked or what, but you guys, I've been wanting. I mean, we've spoke on the stage a couple times.
We are the real deal in the podcasting world there, Larry. We are a big deal.
Yeah.
Well,
by the way, when Peter says we, when Peter says we, he just means to himself. He talks about that like that he's a big deal.
No, but you've been riding coattails a long time, so it's okay, bud.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But by the way, I made a comment when we were saying we shared the stage together because the first 5 minutes before we hit record, we were talking about how we were on a stage that will remain completely nameless and be like, did you ever get your travel expenses paid? No, neither did I. So we don't need to promote who that person was or who, what happened. But I've known you for quite a while. We've done a Smiles at Sea thing together, which is cool. And
we actually did Voices of Dentistry. That's one of the ones. That's I think when we first met. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. That was in Phoenix, right?
Phoenix, a couple years ago. I think it was
that's one of my favorite conferences. That DIA, and it's funny how like there's old school conferences, like the old. I don't know if avant-garde, Craig, am I saying, is that right? Kind of like the old school. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Laura, usually I mess up vocabulary words and like verbiage, all of it. There's like the old school stuff that's been around and they just cut just by reputation, and like new blood that really is growing. Like the old stuff seems to be dying, the attendance rates seems to be dying.
Yeah.
The DIAs and the Voices of Dentistry, and there's this one, it's called Bulletproof Summit. It had a record year.
I heard that's on my bucket list too.
I mean, it sold out in like 7 seconds this year.
I don't know if you guys know, I'm available to speak. My schedule's wide open. So whenever you guys go to do that again,
we could do one.
Apparently you don't have to pay me.
Yeah. Exactly. Apparently we don't even have to pay your travel expenses.
You don't have to pay travel.
We'll remember that.
This is amazing. This is good. Craig, see, we already got some from this podcast.
There you go.
So Laura, let's jump into it. How did you, number one, I've always been curious, how and why did you start Front Office Rocks?
Okay, so the story starts way back in college. I went to undergrad, got my degree in human resources, got my master's degree in organizational development. I was going to be a business person, but I met a guy in undergrad who went to dental school and graduated dental school, came out a couple of years, was an associate, figured he could do it his way, the right way. He put me in the front, he went in the back, and that's how I got into dentistry. So I was married to a dentist who knew nothing about front office. He didn't know anything about systems and software and all that, and said, here, you run the practice. And so I got thrown into dentistry like most of us, just trying to figure it out and learn before the internet. I had to go to conferences and stuff. And we opened a practice on the East Coast. And then in 2008, we moved to San Diego, opened a practice on the West Coast, fee for service in SoCal. And realized around that time that I had a lot of knowledge that could help offices. But I didn't want to be a consultant. I didn't want to go in office. And I feel the number one thing that's missing in our industry, or was missing, is training. Like, consulting's great and coaches are great and going to conferences is great, but actually teaching somebody how to answer the phone the very first day and how to schedule productively. And we didn't have any way to teach. So it was right at that time where it was like DVDs were kind of cool, but internet, and 60-minute DVDs, 10-minute videos. And I just went the internet route and started recording. I'd work all day long. I'd watch all the things that we do in the office. I'd make a list. And then at night I would record videos. Like, why is a confirmation call important? Why is a taking a good message important? Why is it important to convert the new patients on the phone? And I just basically recorded everything that was in my head as an office manager and put it online about 7 years ago, and kind of did it for my own, to train new employees and to offer it to the industry. And now here I am. I'm a recovering dental spouse. I shouldn't put that out there anymore. I'm not married to the dentist anymore, but I am married to the industry
but
now.
look, everything happens for a reason. Look at you now. Look at you now.
Exactly. Yep.
I remember hearing that story a long time ago.
Yeah.
That guy,
and luckily we're on good terms. He's got a practice here locally. In fact, I just watched his business partner. She was on a Spodak podcast this morning, and they're like, "How did you get all the systems?" And I'm like, "Front office rocks. Come on, say it.
Oh,
say
awesome.
it, right?" I'm
did
like,
she?
On,
did she?
It. No, she didn't.
Oh, she's like, I'm
she
just
didn't.
so good. I'm so good.
Well, I was thinking you got to pick teams, right? And my ex is her business partner, so they're going to take all the credit, which is fine. We're on good terms. That's right.
Yeah, listen. As long as people are using it, you don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to get the credit.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so funny how that Lori, as you said that, I was listening to you. Like, it's so funny how sometimes the best ideas come from you probably weren't anticipating creating a business from it. You were just doing it. It was a problem, and you were finding your own solution. And and a lot of businesses, that have it's turned out really well, or just did that. I mean, they really started out solving the problem in their own ecosystem, right? And then it was like, wait a second, other people could use this too.
Right. Well, one of the things I would hear all the time from dentists is I would say, you don't have to hire somebody with dental experience in the front. And the dentist would say, yes, you do. Yes, you do. I just need an office manager like you. I just need you to train. And so I came up with the training to kind of show you could go find somebody who has good sales skills, good multitasking, like they don't have to know dental. We'll teach them the dental, right? But there was no resource to teach the dental. So that's why I was like, well, if I come up with a way to teach them, go find good people that'll help you in the front.
The thing that's always been frustrating, and I've been guilty of this as well in my career, I've learned not to do this anymore, but it's funny. We spend all this time marketing and curating people into our website and pick up the phone. And then we decide to hire someone in the front office, but we're so busy that we just say, just get on there and answer the phones.
Right.
So they're typically our least trained employees, and arguably, in terms of if you're looking at it from a business perspective, they're arguably the most important.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. One of my big things I talk about is I call it hashtag respect the phones. Respect those phones. We don't respect them enough. It is the most important piece of technology in the dental office, because you could go learn CEREC, you can go learn Invisalign, you can do all of this cosmetic training and go to these great seminars, and you come back, if your phones aren't being answered well by your team members, they're not converting patients. If
you don't have the at-bats, you can't hit a home run, you know what I mean?
And that is literally where we start. It's literally the first day for most people on the front is, here's the phones, here's the insurances we belong to, here's the procedures we do, go, let's test them out on the phones.
Yeah.
Worst place you can test somebody out. Because that is your lifeline to the outside. Like that, we are paying thousands of dollars to make that phone ring. And we're not even, first of all, half the offices aren't answering them Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So there's your first issue is your phones need to be answered. And then secondly, you need the best people answering your phones. Have the new people do reactivation calls. Have them do recare calls. But don't have them answering your phone as being the first impression to your practice.
Well, if you think about it too, like the way the dental office is set up, most senior person typically is the dentist, right? That's the most, that's the guy that has the whole, the gal who has the vision for the practice and all that. When you hire a clinical person, that newbie is right in the eyes of the most senior person at dentist. So assistants hired, hygienist is hired. There's constant daily interaction between dentist and that new person because he's in the clinical environment. But the front desk is like, or the administrative. By the way, I hate calling people front desk. That is my biggest, so I almost said that. It just literally gives me chills.
Front office team members.
Front desk is a piece of furniture. That's what that is.
So Craig says that from stage all the time.
What? Yeah,
the front desk is a piece of furniture. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's funny when people say that. I literally, when they say I need a new front desk, what in my mind I think, and I still think this. I'm like, I think something broke, like a furniture piece broke. I need a new front desk. I'm like, so my mind instantly goes to well, just get a carpenter and repair it. And I'm like, oh no, shit, he's talking about friggin' needing a person. It's like, right. But anyway, so imagine your administrative people, the people that are on your front lines, you hire them. And then probably they start on Monday at 9, the first possible check-in might be 5. But with an assistant, if they're just completely screwing up, you're going to catch it. Oh no, Jojo or no, Diane, we don't say scraping gums here. We actually say we're doing polishing of your teeth. But your administrative person's like, oh, you're coming in for scraping, right? The thing where they dig underneath the gums. Yeah, we'll get you in for that. Yeah, doctor, ooh, that hurts. I bet that hurts a lot. We wouldn't even know that's happening until 5 o'clock.
Well, beyond that,
days later.
Not even, or months later, or years later.
I was going to say, I don't think the biggest thing I have with dentists who sign up for front office rocks is they don't know what their front office team should be saying. Like, clinically what an assistant should be doing. What a hygienist should be doing. That's in your realm of comfort. Answering the phones, you don't even know. Should they be saying yes? No? Should they be scheduling tomorrow or
There's
not?
no system in place, Laura,
I got a funny thing.
Right? In the absence of a system, people will create their own and they will go rogue. And that has been my, and I said I am guilty too, but like the someone who sets up their own rogue, how I think I should answer the phone versus the next person is like, it's a recipe for disaster. But anyway, Craig,
by the way, I have a very funny story that happened about a month ago. I'm losing track in this COVID world. I think it was 6 weeks ago. How many weeks? Yeah. So 6 weeks ago, maybe 7 weeks ago. I was talking to the administrative team about some stuff that I learned and I wanted them to implement. And it was so funny because they're like, obviously you've never answered the phones before. I was like, well, tell me more. I'm like, you don't understand what we deal with. You do not understand. I'm like, well, you know what? Book me for 2 or 3 hours of administrative work. I want to sit here in the trenches with you guys answering phones. And I did it. So I did it I actually spent 3 separate 1 hours of answering the phones. Hi, this is, thank you for calling Spodak Dental Group. This is Craig. May I help you? Or I can help you, whatever they made me say. There's a very specific way of saying it. And in full disclosure, Laura, we've been using front office rocks for, how long have we been using it in my office? I don't even know.
I think like 3 years. Yeah, 2 or 3 years now.
So,
maybe even more.
Yeah, so I get up on those phones and I was just winging it. I was like, absolutely. I'm going to just have to put you on a brief hold for 1 second while I pull this. Computer's acting a little slow today. Hold on 1 second, Mrs. Jones. And I put them on, like, what the hell's going on? Help me out. Like, they need this, they need that. And they'd come over. But it was so good because it's not only one of the things that people go rogue. I oftentimes find the administrative team, there's such a dichotomy in the dental office where it's front versus back. And it's really unhealthy. Right. And the back team blames the front, like, oh, anytime you hear the word they, like, I can't believe they scheduled this way. If you hear more they than we, you've got a major problem in your office that goes beyond admin versus clinical. Because you have to, it's we. So if your admin people do a great job, your crown fits better. If your admin people do a great job, you're going to get better Google reviews on your clinical side. We're all equally yoked to the result. Right. And a really poor performing admin team means your clinical dentistry won't be received as well.
Yeah, I do a whole piece on walk a mile in my shoes, and it's a business. A lot of this is just business stuff that we just haven't applied in dental. I mean, walk a mile in my shoes is not cross training. Cross training is fine, right? We should cross train the back to be able to answer phones. The front should be able to go turn over rooms. But walk a mile in my shoe is actually sit in my seat and see what it's like. Because literally, I think the clinical team thinks that we sit up front and drink coffee all day long and, check Facebook. And we think the assistants have it so easy in the back and the hygienist. So walk a mile in my shoes really gives everybody an opportunity to see that it takes all of us. It takes the entire team, to do what we do and to see it from their perspective. I think that's huge.
But also,
I love that.
There's also thank you. The team loved it as well, and it was really cool because I did it out of I had a mea culpa. I had to do it because I had said some comments that were really, I guess, gauged as insensitive, and I actually really liked it because the team rallied against me with it, like, hey, blah blah blah, and I felt like I'm like, oh shit, I got to do this. So I did it.
I'm impressed.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great leadership right there, Craig.
Yeah, I said, book me 3 hours and get it done, and they're like, no, you don't have to do it. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Peter, I can't imagine him saying something that would make the team rally against him. I can't see Craig going.
We should have done the front. You should have made that like some kind of challenge because that's been rampant, right? And you should have like the.
Okay, well, let's make it now. So if you I'm going to
front office challenge.
Do it, docs. If you're listening, or if you're a doctor or leader, owner of the practice, walk a mile in the shoes. Go and answer the phones for an hour because. I learned from them and they gave me the systems that they're doing. And my office is large enough that I don't intimately know each of every department's protocol, but it was cool to see how they did it. They felt really good about it. But I also think there's, when I look at the kudos, because every morning we start off our morning huddle with a kudos or recognition program. And I do just in general see patient kudos or patient feedback and clinical or team feedback going more towards clinical team members than towards admin, which is also inherently frustrating because the admin will tend to feel underappreciated. You don't get a Google review saying like, oh my God, Diane answered all my questions on the phone. It was great. Highly recommend them. It might be, Diane did a great job on the phone. And then when I got there, everything was great. But it seems like there's a predisposed bias towards giving recognition to the clinical teams.
Of course. Well, that's where the patients are insecure and nervous and all of that. Now, what I would say, if you're going to challenge dentists to go spend time up front, here's the other thing I would challenge. And I've never done this before, but I would start asking, why do we do this? Why do we answer the phone that way? Why do we schedule that way? And if your team members can tell you why, awesome, right? Maybe it's the right way, maybe it's not. But if they go, I don't know, we've always done it this way, that's a problem. Then it's time to start going, well, let's figure out if there's a better way. Because we have too many offices that run on, I don't know, we've always done it that way.
That's one of the most dangerous phrases. There's a meme going around, like one of the most dangerous phrases in business is we've always done it that way.
And it's rampant in dental offices. And it was Susie who taught Jody, who taught so-and-so, who didn't even work here for the last 20 years. And there's some old system. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So Laura, let me ask you, this is the part of the show where I always get a tactical, because I'm in charge of the tactical and Craig is in charge of the creating amazing dreams and visions and storytelling. I'm going to unmute you now, buddy. Your birds were crushing me.
My birds are awesome.
Your
brother.
birds are awesome. They're crushing me.
Oh, look at those birds.
It's like,
oh yeah,
just sitting there chirping and chirping in my ear. I'm trying to listen to
you
Laura
said
and
you
your
liked
damn
them.
birds. Well, I did like them, but now they're pissing me off.
Let me manage my own mute. I don't like you muting me.
I like to be in control. You know, I'm a control freak.
I know, but just trust me.
Right.
I'm afraid of birds, so I'm okay
I am
with
too.
that.
I hate
I'm
birds.
afraid of birds. Yeah, anything that flies.
All right, so look, my practice is about the patient experience, and so I'm balancing this question I'm about to ask with how efficient. Like, what is the number of the goal? Because what drives me crazy. Let me give a little context first before I ask the question. The person who says, "Yeah, I just scheduled that new patient." I said, well, cool. And I look at kind of the log or whatever, or like that was one, and it took 40 minutes. Like you should have done a full mouth in 40 minutes. I'm just, but
yeah.
So what is the ideal time that the patient can feel highly touched. They can feel, immediate rapport with you guys, but also like we're running a business and also efficiency and time is money. So what is the exact time that you would say if you had X number of minutes? Is it 8.5 minutes? Is it 7 minutes?
Right?
Is it 14?
It's whatever it takes to get the patient to show up.
I hate this question, Peter. I hate it. I
know.
So let me speak to that a little bit. Okay. So I do think our team needs time management. For example, I had a person who was on checkout, right? And she couldn't get to reactivation calls, recare calls. And so I started paying attention to her days. Every one of her checkouts with patients were 20 minutes long. How are your kids? When are you going to Florida? Oh my God, let me tell you the story. And she thought that was good customer service, which I get it, right? But we also have to be efficient. And if we have to realize the patients that we're dealing with, if I ask, I don't know, the grandma about her 16 grandkids, I'm going to be here 20 minutes talking about the 16 grandkids. I can still say, oh my God, I'm so excited. Next time you come in, you'll have to bring me a picture. I got to go. I need to check on the next patient, and do it in a way that it's efficient and still gives good customer service, but I don't need to hear about all 16 patients or kids. So the same with the new patients calling in. What we're missing, and I'm going to challenge you now, Peter, what we're missing is our intention behind every phone call. Our intention is to get the patient to arrive for the appointment. One patient, it might take me 15 minutes. One patient, it might take me 5 minutes. It all depends on the patient. So for one patient, I can get through the questions, answer the question, build rapport, get them scheduled, they're going to arrive. Another patient might take a little longer. Now, 40 minutes on a regular basis is extremely long. And I would probably start,
on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But if only like their disc profile would show up at their caller ID with them, like, this is a D calling. You'd be like, oh, sweet. This is going to take 4 minutes and they'll be booked, right?
But the thing is I think a lot of people, again, they're not trained on the phones, so they don't even know how to control the phone call. And that's what I suggest, that they learn how to control the phone call, because right now we answer questions and we take our time and we schedule the appointment and we learn. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I look at what did we learn about the patient, they have Delta Dental, they live down the street, and they need a new dentist. I'm like, did you actually build rapport with this patient, or did you just ask them what insurance they have and give them directions to the office, right? So we really need to know that our job when a patient calls in, no matter what the call is control the phone call, right? Take control of it, because ultimately our job is to get the patient to arrive. And so whatever we have to do on that call to get the patient to arrive is the most important part.
All right. So whatever it takes, but I think there should be some parameters, like there should be a range. So there's someone in your space. Sorry.
I just want to address that too, because I think that, dentists being scientific, sorry about my birds, Pete. Now I'm very sensitive every time a bird's freaking chirping. But if dentists are scientists and we love cookbooks and formulas for things, and what I find is there's too much control in the dental office. There's a lot of doctors, I see it on Facebook chat rooms, like, how do we get our people off their cell phones? How do we get them to be more engaged? And I'll tell you one way is describing the result and letting the human being that you hired figure out the process. Because I think that
I know you love like a free range and everyone kumbaya and do things your way and it'll work out great.
No.
But that is not what I'm looking for.
No, I know, but that's why you and I have this podcast.
I'm looking for the guard, Laura. Where are the guardrails?
But she said it. She goes, get the patient to show up.
Hey, I'm talking to our esteemed guest, not you.
So
right
here's what
she's
I would
turning
say.
into our esteemed listener right now. It's great.
Here's what I would say. Okay, so I'm going to give you something, both of you. I think it's okay. Patients typically call the office and they ask one of three questions. They ask, do you take my insurance? How much is something? Or do you have weekend or evening hours? That's typically how every phone call starts. And team members are not trained typically on how to handle those calls or those questions. So we either answer them or we talk about other things or we try to wow them and how great our doctors are, but we don't realize, why are the patients asking that? The patients only know two things. They know their insurance book and their pocketbook, okay? So when they call and say, how much is a crown? Or do you have weekend hours? Or do you take my insurance? It's because they're speaking from their perspective. That's all they know. What they should be asking is, how much CE has your doctor done? What courses have they taken? Is there any lawsuits against them? But they don't know to ask that. Just like if I call a plumber and I have a leak in my house, I'm going to say, do you have financing options? Because I don't know anything about leaks and plumbing. That's what patients ask. Now, what our team members need to understand is, because they ask that, we could either get really upset and that all our patients are insurance driven. It's all about money. They're all shoppers. Or we can realize that's all they know to ask, and it's our job to take control of the call.
All right, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now I need to take control of the call. However I do that. Now in my mind, it is, you need to answer that question positively or something yes to get the patient to start talking to you. Now I'm going to find out, why are they calling? What's their problem? How did they hear about us? What are they looking for? And then I can sell them on coming in and being a patient of ours. But I can't go right down that insurance or money talk, because I've lost control of that call, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to be the cheapest dentist in town. You're not going to be the only ones that take that insurance. So you have to take control of the call. And that's what I think is missing with the front office team. And that's why, marketing companies will say, we can market for you, but we're not getting the new patients. It's not the marketing that's not working. It's that we're not taking control of those calls. And our team members don't know what their intention is, which is getting the patient to arrive for the appointment.
Hey, Laura, do you know a guy named Larry Gazzardo?
I do.
Either of you know?
I do.
So Larry, do you work with Larry much?
He works for another company that does what I do.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he works for the other company.
Okay, I didn't know there was another company that works with you. But Larry and I met each other, this is going back in 2005. So it's probably before most of our listeners were born yet. But Larry had this example, and I just want to credit him. He probably, everything's, I think every idea is borrowed. But one thing he told me early on in 2005, I worked with him for like maybe 2 years, 2005 to 2007. And then I just lost touch with him actually. But one thing he said, he described this phone call with a limo driver, right? So one person calls up and says, hey, I want a limo. I'm going from Delray to Miami tonight. How much is it? Guy says $80. All right, I'll call you back. Wants to check the prices because he doesn't really know. Next guy says, yeah, I want to get a limo going from Delray to Miami tonight. Guy says, oh, cool. What are you celebrating? Anything special? Yeah, well, it's my wife's it's our anniversary, funny enough. It's our anniversary, funny enough. It's going to be Friday. And, oh, that's really nice. Oh, my God, congratulations. How many years? Oh, it's just our 5-year anniversary. Okay, great. Just want to get a couple questions so I make sure that everything's great. Well, really all I want is a limo. Yeah, but does your wife like, you're probably busy. Does your wife like flowers? Because, we could probably have, a dozen roses in the limo, save you some time. Oh my God, that'd be great. Do your wife like champagne? Oh my God, she loves champagne. Dude, you'd make me look like a rock star. Could you get flowers and champagne there? Absolutely, we can do that. Anything else? Is there, maybe a little note like happy anniversary, babe? Are you busy? Oh my God, if you could take care of those 3 things, that'd be amazing. Okay, what time do you want it? Blah, 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 blah. That's it. So, well, how much is that? I never even asked you. Oh, it's $375. But at least the guy can now say, the consumer can say, I'm not shopping for a limo. The limo was just the transportation. What you really wanted was you wanted a special experience for your wife. So what our patients are saying is, I want to look really good and feel really good, but I don't know how to ask that. So how much is this going to cost, or what's you haven't even bought yet? So you're going to the Mercedes dealership and saying, how much is a Mercedes? Well, shit, we got freaking 10 types of them.
Right.
But the salesman, which is the dentist, can say like, okay, what you really need is a C-class or an ML or whatever. How many kids do you have and all that stuff? So really, and I don't know if that was Larry that came up with that. This goes back so long ago, but I remember that story really well. And I always tell my administrative people that story, because if you control the conversation, to your point, I've never heard that, but you are now asking the questions versus that.
Well, and if you think about it, patients don't know how to judge you if you're a good dentist or not. They don't know the dentistry, right? They might know how their smile looks, but they don't, but they know that, they know the experience, and the experience starts from that first phone call. So how I handle that, I actually think the experience starts before the first phone call, because it's the reviews that you have out there. It's what people are saying about you. Oh, he's the cheapest dentist in town, he gives good discounts, is very different than he completely took care of my smile and I love their customer service. But then that first phone call matters so much. But yet, like you were talking about a minute ago, Peter, like dentists are so about efficiency and numbers and production and how long is this going to take? And so then we don't prioritize the phones. Half the dental offices aren't answering their phones on Fridays. A lot of them aren't answering them at lunch. I don't know how many are answering right now while we're shut down, which right now there's no excuse. You should be talking to your patients when they're calling your office. And then you should have the best people on the phones, right? Because this is like you said, it's the one that's going to convert the patient in.
Laura,
by the way, you ever read I'm sorry, Pete. This is my last comment. I'll put myself on mute so you don't have to listen to me and my birds.
You and your birds.
But did you ever read a book by Tony Hsieh called Delivering Happiness? It's the story of Zappos. Either one of you guys? No. So Zappos's mantra was to be the greatest customer service company in the world. They weren't trying to be the greatest shoes vendor and all that other stuff. I don't know how Zappos is doing, but Amazon acquired them for big, big numbers. Jeff Bezos was enamored with their philosophy. And in fact, I don't know if you guys have experienced this in the COVID world, but I'm getting emails from Amazon saying my shipping date's going to be like May 8th through May 15th. And then like one day later it comes on my front door.
It shows up.
So it shows up. So they're actually getting ahead of the customer service because they realize a lot of things are out of their control. But the premise of Zappos was delivering happiness was that we don't care how long it takes and if you make a sale or not. We want to be the greatest customer service company in the world. So there are stories about
and that's
Zappos
great in
employees.
Silicon Valley, where companies have massively backed private equity and they can do shit like that. Like we can't do that in the real world.
Well,
great story, Craig.
I think we can. I think we can, because if you have, if we really judge the metric, the true value of the call to be, do you show up or not? That takes time, because you can go over a service mix and get people excited.
I'm reading this book. This is How to Win. This was written in the 40s, I think. It takes very little to give our patients customer service. Use their name. Ask them something about them. Ask why they're asking something. Show some interest in them. I can give a patient amazing customer service in 90 seconds. It's super easy. So it doesn't have to be bells and whistles like this. I went to see someone speak years ago, and they were talking about the new patient experience and take them on a tour of the office and show them the bathroom.
Oh, that's to some people you're gonna piss them off so bad. You're gonna piss them off so bad.
Exactly. Just care about them. Use their name.
They're gonna hate that.
Yep, exactly.
So Laura, I've always said this to my team, and you can tell me if it's fake news or not. I always say to them, look, by the time they pick up the phone and call us, they've already decided they want to use us and become our patient. It's our job to talk them out of that.
Oh,
it's not
good
really our
point.
job,
Yeah.
but it becomes like they've like just
It's
don't.
on us.
All we have to do
Yeah.
is not screw up their decision they've already made. And
Yep.
would you agree with that?
I wouldn't, I mean, I would say for sure, if they don't, it's on their team, right? For
Right.
sure. So they don't know what to ask. So I still think when they're calling in and they're asking, do you take my insurance or how much is a crown? I mean, we don't want them picking the cheapest dentist in town. So how much is a crown is really irrelevant. It really is, but they don't know to say anything else. So, but talking them out of it, I feel that if a patient doesn't schedule, then it's a training issue on your front office.
Right.
I mean, I think it really is, because
I use that funny. I'm not saying like it's our job. We need to talk us out. I'm saying, I hope everyone gets that, but
it's because of us.
It's because of improperly answering questions or saying something we shouldn't, or I don't know. But
and I'll tell you that I think I'm pro and con on this whole, like, we can record our calls now. We can see metrics around our numbers on the phones and all of that. I like the idea about that, because I think so many front office people don't think that was a new patient. So a patient calls in and says, do you have Saturday hours? And I say, no, I'm sorry, we don't have Saturday hours. And they hang up. And then the doctor walks up and says, did anybody new patients call? Nope, no new patients called. Well, that was a new patient that called, and we didn't handle that Saturday question well. So they're not counting as a new patient because they didn't schedule. So then they turn around to their marketing company and they're like, well, you're not getting us new patient calls. Well, now we can prove you got a new patient call. Anybody who's not a current patient of your practice is a potential new patient. And we need to answer all of those questions accordingly and understand that our job, I think everything we do in the front office, ultimately the results of it is butts in the chair. That's what I say.
Right.
Confirmation calls, butts in the chair. Handling the phones, butts in the chair. New patient calls, because that's all we can do to really help our doctors out. Is if I can get whatever patient's butt in your chair, we can clinically take care of them and help them keep them healthy and stable. So my job with whatever I do is a butt in the chair. It's not just answer the phones. It's not just answer questions. It's not being efficient. It's literally the purpose for everything I do is a butt in the chair, right? And if I've done that well, if I've gotten 100 phone calls this week and I got 95 butts in the chair, it could take me 5 minutes. It could take me 40 minutes for a call. I don't care. I got 95 butts in the chair.
That's the
job.
KPI.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
I think the one thing I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Laura.
I was
no,
just
Laura,
going
go
to
ahead.
say, you were talking about funny things when people speaking and stuff. And I talk about respect the phone, butts in the chair. Those are my two main things. And then I had a guy who was live on Facebook and he was a funny guy. And I said, what did you learn today when we were like live on Facebook? And he's like, I've learned respect the butts. And I was like, that is not what I taught you. But so there you go. If you hear respect the butts, that came from Laura
Not
Hatch.
you. Not Laura Hatch.
Yeah, not me. Exactly. Respect the phone.
Yeah.
Laura,
I wasn't putting those two things together, just FYI, but happy
there
to be
you
in
go.
that
Now you
association.
are.
Yeah.
So
I think,
Craig, I don't know where the person that you referenced earlier came from. Laura said it was a not on her team. Mm-hmm. So Laura, I'm going to ask you a term, and I'm going to see what you feel about this term. How do you feel about the dual close?
The dual close.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I know.
Is that where you and your buddy are single and you go to a bar together and you both take home girls?
Like a wingman?
Yeah, I think it's a wingman. He's talking about wingman.
Well,
wingman.
No, that's a whole.
We call it wingman.
That's a whole different. That's a whole different podcast.
Okay, is Laura going to be on that one?
All right, so
yeah.
Look, this is someone who's been wildly successful in the scheduling arena of dentistry. Okay. And
Who's
the whole
is this a scripting?
Yeah. Yes.
Successfully person. Okay.
Yes.
Thing.
And so the whole premise is a dual close, where it's basically all you want to do is give people. Do you like Mondays or Wednesdays? I like Wednesdays. Do you like morning or evening? I like it. So the whole thing is get them scheduled as fast as possible, right?
Yes.
And you obviously know that tactic. So
yes.
Which, part of me likes it. Part of me like, okay, there's not much rapport build there, but part of me also likes the efficiency of it. And in some of it,
batty.
Of course it does, Craig. You want to talk and
no, but I just think scripting is then just
not so much scripting, but at least it gives.
I know what you're talking about.
At least it gives structure.
It does come off as scripting. So I'm not a fan of script.
By the way, really good people can follow a script. They're called actors, but only 0.001% of the population can act. So if I gave you a script right now, Peter, I mean, people even said to us, it's funny, Laura, we were up on stage once and we do a break we were at our own summit. Some guys like, I really love the way you guys like disagree with each other all the time. That's such a good script you guys follow. How do you know when to deploy them? Like, are you freaking kidding me?
This is us.
He thought we
Yeah.
were acting. I'm like, I'm not, if
Yeah.
I was that good, I wouldn't be talking to your ass. I'd be like getting a Golden Globe. Like it's hard to follow the a script, and it makes most people really nervous. Go ahead.
So here's the middle ground is what
I'll mute me and the birds.
You and
Me
your
and the
dumb
birds.
birds.
I think that you have to train and you have to give guidelines of what can be said in your office. Are you a network or not? What procedures do you do or not? How do you want the phones answered? What's your culture? All of that, right? But ultimately what they say has to come from their heart. Now you can give them, I actually say, do you prefer mornings or afternoons? And I say that for a very different reason, not the dual close. I do it because it's way better than going, when do you want to come in?
Right. Okay.
Friday.
Right.
Oh no, we're closed Fridays. Well, Thursday night.
It's
No,
like,
we're
where
not
do you want
open
to
late.
eat tonight, babe? I don't know. Where do you want,
Exactly. Yeah, let's make it easy. And a confused mind won't buy. So if a
Right.
confused mind is like, I can't make a decision, but I do that from my heart, right? So here's the story. I call into offices and do mystery calls just to see how my members are doing and stuff. And I had a girl and I answered her, or she answered the phone. She said, she goes, it's a sunny day at ABC Dental. How can I help you? And I was thinking,
Not
I don't
so
think
sunny.
it's very sunny over there, right? Some consultant or somebody told her she had to answer the phone that way and she didn't feel it. She didn't love it. And it came off as just like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever had to say, right?
Where are your,
So
10, where your 10 points of flair? Where's your 10 points of flair? You're only wearing 5.
Yep. So you have to give them guidelines. You have to give them training. You have to help them with, like, I'm not going to say, when do you want to come in? Because now you're giving the patient too many options. It's
Right.
better to narrow that down. But it has to come from their heart. And if you have people on the phones who are not, or in general, if it's not coming from their heart and they're not exuding this, maybe they're just not the right person on the team, right? Not everybody needs to be answering the phones. Not everybody needs to
give people a reason to give your team a reason to love you first.
Yeah.
So I personally don't mind if 5 different people in my office answer the phone 5 different ways, because as long as they speak from their heart, and you said something that hit me really solid. Like, if you speak from your heart, people hear you with theirs. And if you come from your brain, people hear you with their brain.
Speaking from your heart is not a system. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I can't.
no, it is.
It's not a system.
It is because you can build a system around amazing around that. So what it is, Josie in my office will handle the phone. No, she'll handle the phone. So listen, let's say Josie has a procedure done by Dr. Mike in my office, and she loves Dr. Mike because X, Y, and Z. And then Francesca loves our office because we do charity outreach, which we do tons of it. That speaks to her heart. So when she meets a patient, like, well, one of the reasons why, there's a normal conversation around that. Okay, well, so how'd you find our office? Well, I heard you do charity. I know, I love it. I've done the last 4 beach cleanups for the last 4 years. Or I heard you guys have a dental dentist. Oh my God, he's my
45
dentist.
minutes later, they still haven't scheduled.
Bullshit.
Let me talk about systems.
I'm just kidding. Laura, can you see why we're yin and yang, by the way?
I know. I feel like I'm in the middle here.
You're being too much yang right now, bro. You're being a yang.
I know. I'm such a yang.
I think systems are important. You have to have systems. You have to have rules. You have to have guidelines. You have to have barriers, right? Like, you have to go, okay, here's where you have to work with them, right? We want our phones answered by the 3rd ring. We want every time you answer the phone, you put a smile on your face, right? Like, you have to have systems, but we can't systemize them so much that we're robots. Right? They have to. I mean, one of the things I talk about with like an associate, people say, well, how can I get my associate schedule filled? Put your team members in your associate's chair and let them get one-on-one experience with your associate, because then they can speak from their, like, he cleaned my teeth. He was amazing. He's so funny, like way more than
I agree with
he graduated from university of whatever. And this is the script you give the patient. All right. So it's got to speak from their heart, but you have to have systems. If we don't, I mean, we are a business, right? So there has to be guidelines and rules that they have to follow, but not so much that they're robotic.
But if your team member loves one of your people, let's say you have 6 hygienists and the team member that answers the phone loves Lucy, that's great too. Like, I personally use Lucy. You know, there's a meritocracy there. I mean, there's everybody in your office is a different performer and resonates with different people. And I just think that our job as leaders, owners of the practice, is to give all of our team members a reason to love our practice first. If they love our practice and they really love it, then you don't have to say, it's a bright sunny day at Jones Dental. You know, that's
exactly.
the worst thing you can be doing. And we fail our teams miserably as on a whole as dentists. We are harsh on our admin teams when they make a mistake. How did you put that person in there? You know, blah, blah, blah. And what we do is that culture of fear and that reprimand shuts it all down. It shuts it all down.
Right.
So the first thing we're guilty of is being overly judgmental of them and not giving them the grace or the training. You know, we throw them into the fire and then we get pissed at them and they get burned. And it creates a hole that we have to dig out of.
I actually have a video on front office rocks. So I started front office rocks because front office is what I knew, right? And then we've added back office on there. So we have assistant and hygiene training. And I have a video on there specific for dental assistants. It's the top 20 things your doctors don't like what you do, like things you do. Because what would happen is my doctors all shared an office, and they would go back and they'd come in and they'd complain about their dental assistant. She forgot this, or they didn't go get this, or they talked about this and it was inappropriate. And I'd say, did you tell your assistant? Well, no. Well, how are they supposed to know? If you guys are back here complaining, go to the assistant and say, hey, I don't want you talking about that in front of patients, or I want you to separate them. So I made a video specifically about dentists. You need to be vulnerable. You need to be leaders. You need to set a culture where it's okay to fail and it's okay to pick yourselves back up and learn and grow, and not just rules, because you're going to always be the person they come to with, I've got a problem, and dumping it on your lap. And as long as you want to be that person, great. But if you want to get out of the practice so you can do other things, your practice can grow, then you need to build a team of leaders. And so that means allowing them to grow and speak from their heart and to make mistakes and to grow as a team and sit up front and have Dr. Spodak. I think that would have been a great social media thing. Like, look who's answering our phones, throw it out there for the patients to see. Like, it's okay. We don't have to have it all figured out as long as we're improving and growing together as a team.
And by the way, when someone comes to you with a complaint about someone else, gossip, one of our agreements is that we just don't do it. So the person that listens to it is complicit in it as well. So if I go to Pete right now and be like, you know what Laura did to me? Or if Pete comes to me and says, you know what Laura did to me? I would say, does Laura know this? And he would say, no, not yet, but I just want to get your feedback. I'm like, no, I'm going to go get Laura right now. Okay. Because it's not fair for me to be listening to this right now. I would be upset if you and Pete were talking about me right now. So I just want to go get Laura right now because I want to have a constructive conversation. I want to talk about this. But by the way, that person will never gossip to you again, ever.
Right.
Because
but the thing is,
you just stopped it.
I'll say though, I was just doing a podcast about this last week, or an interview about this. Dentists, you're trying to become better leaders. You're going to seminars, you're reading books, you're improving. But your team has to have the ability to do it too. Nobody's ever taught your team members, some of them, especially the younger ones, what meeting etiquette is, what nonverbal communication is, what gossip is. Like, we just assume because you learned it's not good to have a culture that allows gossip, that your team members know what to do about it. Like, they need to know how to shut it down. They need to know when they show up with an attitude at a meeting, what that does. We need to show them. I mean, I trained on things like, we were practicing asking for referrals and reviews, and I went to shake one of my team members' hands, and she had one of those dead fish kind of gross handshakes. And I was like, okay, now we're going to practice shaking hands, because I didn't want my patients to feel that as the last thing when they walked out of the office. So we have to allow.
Well, that training went for nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't, it's against the law to shake hands.
That, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to work on the elbow.
There's a handshake police in certain states right now.
Yeah, it's social media.
Yeah. Well, so there we go. So, yeah. Exactly.
Laura, so tell me about your program. Because honestly, like, I don't really know exactly what you guys offer. So now's a perfect time to, but Craig does. But
Craig does, and he disappeared right at the right time.
So he's gone. So tell me.
No, I'm walking.
He's with his AirPods. He just wanted to go play with his birds or something weird.
No,
Craig has a great implementer, so we should get her on here. She'd tell us all about it.
He did. He does have a great implementer.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, what is the elevator 30,000 foot view of like what you guys do to help the front office rock?
Yeah, and it's not just front now; it's the entire team. So basically, and Craig mentioned
it's front to back or back to front. Sorry,
front of however you want to go.
No, you never. Wait, times. You never go back to front. You never go back to front.
I just want to know how. I just want to know how she calls it. Does she call it? And Laura, it's important for branding.
It is front to back.
It is
front to back.
Always.
Yeah,
Always.
it's front to back always, and then it ends with a team. So there you go.
Got it. I get it.
Same in Craig's house.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand it. I literally don't understand that. I started the joke.
It's all right.
Tell me how that works.
It's all right.
All right, I'll tell you when we hit.
Okay, when we're
end.
off, yeah. But I just want to make sure her branding is right, because it's front office, right? We cover you from front to back.
Hey,
yeah,
keep
front
your
to
birds
back.
simmer down over there.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm here. No one would be laughing without me.
So basically what I focus on with Front Office Rocks is the why behind everything we do. I don't think people, that's the number one thing we need with training. Like, why is turning over a room so important to do it the right way? Why is a confirmation call important? What's the why behind filling a productive schedule or getting the patient to arrive? So all my videos are 10 to 15 minutes long, and it's broken down by tasks, duties. What do we do and why? Why do we do these? And it's all video based. It's a membership website. There's over 300 and some videos on there, plus, podcast or webinars and training and documents. It's a resource. My goal is to be a resource for dental offices, to be the place you go to do new hire training, to do continual training, to do team training, or you come to when you need an answer to something, right? It's to be a resource. So it's a library of, I think every new employee should do at least 1 hour of training a day. And that does not mean sit next to Susie and watch how she schedules. It means actually teach them what they need to know to do their job. And then I think every current employee should do 1 hour of training a week, whether it's Front Office Rocks or something on the latest Perio or, anything. We should do 1 hour a week of training, because investing in your team is the best investment you can make.
100%.
Doctors, you go to clinical CE all the time. You go to these courses all the time. When was the last time your receptionist did a course on anything about customer service or anything about answering questions or leadership? So it's a way to, and it's all online, so it can be done in the office. Because I know a lot of times we can't send all our team members. I mean, when you have a big team, you can't send them all to a course, but you can do the training right there when you hear them answering phones and you're like, I'm not sure they should be answering it that way. They can go on Front Office Rocks and do a video about it.
Yeah. And honestly, with being dentists, time is our scarcity, right? It's our bottleneck in everything we do, especially in the business environment. We got lots of, we got to make the donuts, do the donuts, sell the donut,
right.
Kidding. But I'm saying we are all stressed for time. We feel it, and everyone's stressed for time. But the one thing I always get frustrated with is like a one-on-one linear exchange, right? Like, I'm going to sit here and teach you. And so you created a system that's scalable and allows for, one of the most frustrating things in dentistry is you spend all this time leaning into someone when you're doing the old school method of, not the Front Office Rocks method of training. And then like 6 weeks in, doc, this just isn't a good fit. I think I'm going to go down to the office down the street. And like, there goes all that training down the road. Right. And you just spent literally, you sidelined your top employee possibly to say, hey, can you train Kathy, the new hire? Right. And now you spent two payrolls training one person, and now that went down the street.
Well, and your best employee also may not be a good trainer. So we have great schedulers and office managers out there, but they're not good trainers. My degree is in training. So I break down the how to do things because I'm a trainer. That's what I am. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is hiring gets this negative, because of that. I got to teach in and out of network again. I got to teach how to turn over a room again. I got to just put them in front of a video. Everybody learns from their own perspective. They have their own experiences. They learn the why, and then they can go and ask questions and apply to, how you do it in your practice. But yeah, I mean, the way it's done right now.
That's great.
That's why
what a
people don't like
value for
turnover.
dentistry.
Thank you.
Craig, anything, you and your birds have anything else to say before we let Laura go?
No, Laura, I appreciate you. Loved your product for many years. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and it's I love your message. I'm really happy that it resonates right in line with mine. I mean, I agree with you. I think that we all need a little bit more freedom, especially I think work is going through a very interesting shift right now, post COVID. I think that people need flexibility and to express themselves, whether that's, remote working and remote learning, like what you've created. And I like it. I'm happy to support you in this endeavor to make dentistry better, make dentistry great again.
Thank you. You and your birds.
You and your birds.
Coming from me and my birds.
You and your birds.
Just so you know, it's an outdoor aviary. So just because this COVID a bird thing may be going on longer than we wanted, it's an aviary. It's an outdoor bird cage. Living in the tropics, as you know, living in Southern California.
Hashtag no one cares. All right, Laura, thanks for
You were
Thanks
waiting to
for-
use that, weren't you?
I just had to.
Hashtag edit
No one
that part
cares.
out.
Laura, seriously, thanks for coming on, using your time. I know it was a beautiful day, and I know you're in the middle of your day, even because you're a West Coaster. But thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you. This was fun. I'm glad. Bucket list. I made it. It
Bucket
took
list.
COVID
Check
to
it
get me
off.
on
Check it off
here.
that bucket list.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly. Now, can you get us paid from that conference, and then we'll be all caught up.
Then all of your dental dreams will be fulfilled.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. Over and out.
See you guys.